SPL. Now we have another player in the steel space, JSW Steel. Seshagiri Rao, the joint MD and Group CFO at JSW Steel, joins us now to talk about the environment. Mr. Rao, thanks so much for joining us. We just heard from JSPL that domestic steel prices have gone up on an average by 2,500 to 3,000 rupees recently, and that's also because raw material prices have gone up quite a bit. So I wanted to start by asking you what the average coking coal costs have been for you in this quarter compared to the $100 that it was in the previous quarter?
It is more than doubled that way. If you look at the coking coal prices, they started going up starting from August and September. So the impact of which started coming in, but the full impact of higher coking coal prices, which are peaked over $300, that impact also is yet to come in the next quarter. So partially it has come in this quarter. It is more than doubled relative to last quarter.
So what impact would that have on your EBITDA per ton in Q3 and Q4?
There will be definitely a squeeze on margins because the full impact of increase in cost could not be passed on fully in the market. Partially it has been done. Whereas internationally the prices went up quite substantially. That is why if I compare today the landed cost of import of steel vis-a-vis the domestic prices, there is a discount of almost close to 18%. So therefore we are not able to pass it on fully in this quarter to reduce the pressure on margin.
Good morning, Mr. Rao. Good to have you with us. What will be the situation in early 2017, you think? We are getting comments from the Chinese president that they are open to growth of less than 6.5%. Donald Trump, of course, is expected to give infrastructure a push, perhaps. Net, how will steel prices, exactly these landed prices, which have been the bane of the Indian sector, behave in the first 6 months of 2017?
So even in the year 2016, everybody expected Chinese demand will fall dramatically. So that will lead to a global oversupply of steel. Therefore, steel prices would fall. Whereas the contrary has happened. The stimulus package which has been introduced in China kept the steel demand constant. That has reduced the pressure. And contrary to what everybody expected, the steel prices in fact more than doubled. So which we have seen at around $270 lowest price. It went up above $500. Even still it is prevailing. My view is at least in the next quarter, that is first quarter of 2017, there is still some steam in the steel prices to go up, because even though coking coal prices got corrected to around $250 from its peak of $315, $320, the full impact of coking coal and iron ore prices have still not passed on to the consumer. So the steel companies will still has to incur the incremental cost increases. Therefore, some steam is left in the steel prices. The quarter one, I expect steel prices to go up. After that, there may be some correction in the steel prices in line with the raw material prices.
So until that you pass on that cost, how much do you think it could impact your EBITDA per ton? I mean, in the previous quarter, it was at somewhere around 7,000 rupees. Even if we look at a 10% cut, are we looking at, say 6,000, 6,200 rupees per ton in the coming quarters?
See, quarter one of this financial year, we were at 9,000 rupees, which fell to 7,000 rupees in the quarter two. So there is definitely a pressure. I don't want to give a number before announcement of our results. So we don't give the EBITDA number, but we focus on volumes. We have given a 15 million ton sales guidance, so we stick to that guidance. So we will be doing the 15 million ton of sales in this year. But as regards to EBITDA, there is a pressure in this quarter, and we expect some recovery in the next quarter.
Recovery in the EBITDA per ton?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Rao, we have a few more questions for you, especially on how demonetization has impacted the steel sector. But we have to take a mandatory break. Back in, I've been speaking with Mr. Seshagiri Rao, the Joint Managing Director and Group CFO at JSW Steel, on how 2016 has panned out and what may be the prospects for 2017. Mr. Rao, demonetization, how have the past 5-6 weeks panned out? How much of demand has it hurt or margins?
I think November and December we have to look at little differently. In the month of November, I think retail sales were impacted quite severely. So we have three segments of sales. One is OEMs and another is exports, third is retail. So OEM and exports were not affected in the month of November, but retail we have seen a severe impact. So overall sales impact was around 10% in the month of November. Whereas in the month of December, even though a slight recovery in the retail sales, we are seeing a pushback in the case of OEMs because their supply chains again, pushback is coming to them, which is getting passed on to us. So some impact we are seeing in December, but a slight recovery in retail over November. That is what we have seen in the month of December. But we expect in the next quarter, because of remonetization which is happening, should bring normalcy gradually in the next quarter.
So if you have to meet your 15 million tons target, the ask rate for the second half is slightly higher than the first half. In the first half, you did about 7.2, which means that you'll have to do 7.8 in the second half. And given that retail sales were impacted in December, do you think you can meet that second half target?
Yeah, that's why we have been giving guidance that 15 million ton we will stick, because wherever there is an impact, we will try to make it up in the Q4.
So that's factored in this slowdown.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you looking at any kind of inorganic growth at this point in time? You know, any of the steel plants, either domestically or globally, that has caught your attention to buy a stake in or to put any money into?
Yeah, we have been looking at inorganic growth both in India and also overseas. So a lot of proposals we have been evaluating. Yeah, we are open to that, yes.
That is a euphemism, sir. I think your name is mentioned practically in every steel company that is in distress. Will we hear anything in FY17?
That is very difficult because JSW Steel is very cautious as and when acquisitions are done. Even though our name is associated with several names of assets, several targets, but actually very few have happened in the past. Therefore, I don't want to give a wrong guidance to the market or to the viewers that something will be announced soon. So we have been evaluating, and unless we are very satisfied about the target and the returns to the shareholders, we do not rush.
But 2017 could be that year because we've waited long. I mean, these discussions have been swirling for almost since 2015, right? When the first SDR rules were announced by Reserve Bank.
Yeah, that is true, but it is taking time.
Would you be interested in acquiring any kind of stake or lending any kind of assistance to JSPL in the near future?
JSPL, as we have already announced in the case of JSW Energy, there is already an agreement signed with them to take a stake in their power plant of 1,000 megawatts. So that is in progress.
And from the steel business?
I don't think so.
All right. Okay, Mr. Rao, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts on all these issues, global and domestic. Have a great 2017 yourself. Okay, so that's the word coming in from JSW. The pressure of global steel prices